Thank you. Live tonight from the virtual streets of Long Beach, we say good evening, race fans, and welcome to the Beaver eSports Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. Happy that you're with us here on RaceSpot TV for the final bit of eShort course racing in 2020. We're alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be on the call this evening with Jim Beaver and Tiffany Stone as always. And downstairs is our RaceSpot TV producer, Arjunia Kankipati. And Jim, we've had a handful of great events here over the course of this year. Tonight, a bookend to an awesome year of sim racing, and for some drivers, a big important step to what's to come in 2021.
Yeah, you know, this is definitely the final chance to get into the eShort Course World Cup, something we hatched, at the beginning of this year, and I got to tell you, it ended up being the biggest eShort Course race in history. We've got some massive plans I was hoping to unveil tonight. We're not able to unveil those tonight. We've still got a few contractual obligations we're working through, but trust me, this thing's going to roll out in January, and it is going to be massive. These drivers are going to want to be in it. It's going to be a lot of cash, a lot of prizes, and a lot of bragging rights come January, and this is last chance to make it happen.
It's always good to leave them wanting more, so make sure you stay up to date with everything headed into the next year. Of course, we had the World Cup, we had the Pro 2 Invitational, and the Crandon Pro 4 World Cup. So as this is the fourth and final race on the year, let's take a look at our format for this race. You saw it there. We're going to whittle this massive field of trucks down to 24 by the time the evening is done. We'll go through 3 heat races. Top 6 drivers get to advance from each of those. We'll also have 2 LCQs if necessary to add an additional 3 drivers from each. And, the way that this race is going to play, Jim, obviously very different, right, than Wild West and, Crandon and all the other tracks that we've been to, because we're road racing at Long Beach. One of the newest, most beautiful tracks, I think, in sim racing, brand new to the iRacing service. It's a totally different challenge getting these trucks around a street circuit than it was at those other tracks.
Yeah, and we tried this format with Laguna Seca earlier in the year. It ended up being amazingly well. Drivers had a ton of fun with it, running the Pro 2, sliding around the corners, a lot of bumping, a lot of banging, some high speeds, and really adds a level of finesse that you don't normally see in the dirt with these trucks. I'm really excited about Long Beach. They have run off-road trucks here in the real world, so this is nothing new for the Long Beach circuit, but we did with Crandon when that rolled out. We were one of the first major events to happen there. We're trying it again tonight. We're trying to replicate that. Long Beach, I've been here in person, and I got to tell you, this has got me really excited to watch it in the virtual world.
It's going to be a great evening of action, and as I mentioned, I'm happy that you're with us here on RaceSpot TV. We're ready to go qualifying, so we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we're going heat racing. It is the final opportunity to qualify in to the 2021 eShort Course World Cup. It's next from Long Beach.
One fistful of bourbon.
Who's doing that?
It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful.
Born from competition. Perfected on the racetrack. For whatever your road looks like, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
And back live for the virtual Long Beach Grand Prix circuit in Long Beach, California. We are qualified for the Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. Trucks are on track for a 5-minute, 3-lap single truck qualifying session to set the field for these heat races. Evan Pasoko, Jim Beaver, Tiffany Stone on the call with you. And as these drivers try to put down these hot laps at the moment, Jim, we're going to get our first unique look. You know, you talked about racing at Laguna Seca. One of the biggest parts about that race was all the elevation changes. It's pretty flat here at Long Beach, and there's not a lot of runoff, which they tended to use a lot when we were racing in Laguna Seca. So let's go on board with Josh Fox and see how these drivers are figuring it out. It's going to be challenging enough with one truck, and to be that much more exciting when we get them all out there together.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's one of the things here, Evan, is Long Beach, you know, as you said, Laguna Seca, you know, it allowed them to wide open. They could go, you know, 2, 3 wide into the corners, slide up on each other. And I think the key here at Long Beach is that, you know, there isn't the runoff like you were talking about. This is going to keep them honest. You know, it's going to keep them nice, tight. I think we're going to see a lot of damage to the truck, some sliding up against the concrete barriers here. And it's a total different level of driving than we saw at Laguna Seca.
The Fox right now, you take a look at our live times for the qualifying session. Of course, no shock that the likes of Parise and Fox, Proudfoot near the top of the board right now. Several of these drivers are already qualified in to that 2021 World Cup. But in fact, 15 total drivers have qualified in over the events this past season. So, while some drivers are kind of playing with house money tonight and they're not worried, the top 5 finishing drivers in tonight's feature race that are not already qualified in will join them, and that'll make up the 20 drivers locked in to that race to come in January. You can see Bobby Sant Jr. riding with those Fistful of Bourbon colors, currently the best of them all, a 132.732. That's good enough for the best in practice. That would have been second best in practice, though. Cam Peterson was able to top that. He is not able to pull that one out of the qualifying session. And with that, the clock strikes 0. Let's take a look at your RaceSpot TV starting grid for heat race number 1. So Bobby Sant Jr. will start this one for pole, Jim. He'll be joined alongside by Brandon Proudfoot. Joe Lusk and Connor Martell, they'll start 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, we've got Connor Barry. He's a real-world off-road star. Trenton Briley, Bodie Cryer, and Darren Hardesty, another champ from the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series.
The guy likes, Son Stratton, Liam Sheen through the top 10, Keith Jeffrey, and Zachary Drapkin at the number 12 spot. These back couple of drivers didn't even queue, so that's going to be provisionally based. Mason Prater finds himself at the very back of the grid here, trying to find a bit of extra time that he was still searching for in that practice session. So if they all take to the green flag, it'll be 13 trucks biting for 6 positions into tonight's main event. Everybody else going to be booted off to a last chance qualifier. These races are 6 laps. That's not an eternity on paper, but these trucks aren't getting up to IndyCar speeds, Jim, so there is going to be, I think, a decent amount of time, even in these shorter heat races, for drivers to kind of get settled in, maybe make a mistake or two and get through. Obviously, when you get to the LCQ and that top qualifier number gets shorter, maybe not, but we'll see how this first one plays out, and I guarantee you drivers for heat races 2 and 3 are watching.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of room for drivers, if they make a mistake, to catch up. Like you said, we're not running IndyCar speeds here, but there is, like I said earlier, a little bit of level of finesse to get around here at Long Beach and get around quick. These are all about carrying momentum and speed, and, you bobble one bit here and it can cost your tire straightaway in these trucks because they don't accelerate like an IndyCar does. I would definitely say our top 2, Bobby Sant Jr., one of the best all-around iRacers, and Brandon Proudfoot was our winner there at Laguna Seca. So a couple heavy hitters right up front in those Fistful of Bourbon trucks.
And we're racing for heat race number 1, side by side, jam-packed all the way down into turn number 1. It's going to be a sharp, almost 90-degree left-hander onto Aquarium Way. And it looks like a little bit harder under braking. Bobby Sant Jr., he'll lead the first time through. The 22 truck into second. No change there, but the fight's going to be for third and forcing through the number 21 truck of Connor Martell. He makes the pass on Lusk, takes over third, and one truck in the air towards the back. It's the 72 of Sean Stratton.
Wow, excitement early here at Long Beach going around the fountain there. As we go back up front, that is, I believe, Bobby Sant Jr. in the lead in that Fistful of Bourbon truck. Got a couple of twin trucks there. You know, one thing I would say about Sant is, you know, Evan, he's raced in the World Championship for Rallycross before. You know, he's no stranger to racing on the pavement, I think, and sliding cars around. I think he could be one of the favorites to win this whole thing tonight.
I think I've always believed that rallycross drivers, real life and even in the sim as well, some of the most versatile drivers you'll find. So 1, 2, 3, 4, they have broken away. The battle's going to be for P5 on back. That's Connor Berry under fire by Trenton Briley. Again, the top 6 make it in. So in reality, Briley the one on the hot seat right now, but he doesn't want to be the one with the target on his back. He wants to get up and away, and there's a fight behind them between, it looks like that's Hardesty and company. No, not enough. Through the hairpin, Connor Berry overdrove it. He'll go from 5th to 6th. It stacked a bunch of trucks up and move that number 528 machine back. And now Darren Hardesty takes P5 side by side. Further down, sideways on the outside, that's Trenton Briley trying to make a pass on Bodie Cryer.
Yeah, you know, we're seeing a lot of trucks and leaning on each other hard, you know, and like we said earlier, this is a tight track, as we see there, a couple trucks getting into each other. And, you know, there isn't the forgiveness, and they're not going to slide around this pavement like they do on the dirt tracks. I think these drivers, that's the first time they probably raced around this track, a lot of traffic like this, they're really going to have to adapt their driving style over the course of this, you know, this evening.
Here's a couple of second looks, and we talked about that drama through here on the opening lap of the race. Watch the 72 truck right there. Got helped up and over by Zachary Drapkin. So that is how that 87 truck ended up on his lid, nearly into the fountain. But I guess everything okay, and all these trucks keep rolling. And then you saw the big shot in the run down to 1, as it was Briley getting shoved out of the way into battle for a transfer spot. There's that contact in the hairpin. That's how the 528 Connor Berry got stuck into the wall. It's a tight corner in an open wheel car, let alone in a big and bulky Pro 2 truck. So that's going to be a point of contention all night. And now back to live pictures as Bobby Sant Jr. going to put lap number 2 in his back pocket this time by. He's led from the get-go thus far from Long Beach, and you can see those Fistful of Bourbon entries pulling away to separate themselves from maybe a battle for third. Martell still holding off Joe Lusk. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, and remember, you know, 6 are transferring in, so right now Hardesty on the hot seat there in the 6th spot. Connor Berry, another real-world racer we mentioned earlier, he's there in the 5th spot. He's run up front in our Triple Crown earlier this year. Definitely expecting to see how he adapted the pavement at Long Beach. Connor Martell, real-world rallycrosser, also a sim racer. He's doing pretty solid there in the 3rd spot.
He is doing a real good job. Picked up that spot right off of the get-go. It was a side-by-side pass on Lusk in the run down to turn 1. And you can see those drivers skirting the curbs there through the right-hander. And now they head back down the back half of the racetrack, down East Shoreline Way. That's right here, turn number 7. They're going to go to the right-hand number 8, and then they'll hit Seaside Way from the run down to 8 and down into turn number 9. So a lot of drama early in this one for heat race number 1, and then it's calmed down just a little bit, but not for everybody. Liam Sheen with issues was running in 7th position. We talked about that being the cut, P6. To advance to the feature, he was on the doorstep, and right there, just hung it out too wide. I think that's turn 5, ended up into the concrete barrier. He takes a tow to pit road, so Liam Sheen going to be forced into an LCQ as he tries to advance to tonight's feature. 3 laps down, though, 3 laps to go in Heat 1, and a great battle for the race lead and for third. Those 2 sets of 2 have really stretched away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it looks like Martell and Lusk, the 3rd and 4th spot, they've got a nice little battle going on for the 3rd spot, but you got to think all these leaders know that for directly into the main event after this, they're not going to find themselves in the LCQ. They got a lot of breathing room. You might see them, you know, lift up just a little bit, play it safe, probably don't want to do any damage to each other and risk, you know, have to qualify in through that last chance qualifier.
And here's an important battle between the 56 of Drapkin and the 88 of Keith Jeffrey. You saw the 56 basically push his way through that time, and there's a bit of payback as Jeffrey gives him a shot into one. All these trucks out of a ticket to the main event right now, but they will, based on this finishing position, to be how they line up for the LCQ, and they are all over each other for 8th on back. That's Trenton Briley in the mix as well. Here comes the 72 is Sean Stratton. He'll go down to the inside of Keith Jeffrey, who's into the outside wall, up and in the fencing, and Jeffrey on his lid from P9. His race ends just like that, as these guys got a little bit too aggressive, Jim, and it looks like the 88, knowing that battle was coming, gave it a little bit too much right there. He caught the tires, climbed the fence, into the fencing, and just like that, you go from P9 to the wrecker in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough break for Keith. He's trying his hand here at some of the short course stuff. He's very accomplished in iRacing, especially in a lot of the other disciplines, but he is going to find himself in the LCQ there, just coming in a little bit too hot.
And late in this race, what's going to happen now with less than 2 laps to go in Heat Race 1? Still Sant, Proudfoot, Martel, Luskin, Barry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With Darren Hardesty basically unchallenged for the transfer bubble in position number 6. He's about 2 seconds ahead of Mason Prater. You see all the intervals left-hand side of your screen. No challenge for the moment. This is, though, a good battle. A little bit further back down the road in traffic as they head through the first part of the track there through Aquarium Way and turns number 2 and 3. So this challenge is going to continue, but at least up at the front as Lusk continues to try to get there as the pass actually happens there with Martel. I think at this point, enough separation between the trucks. You just have to not pull Keith Jeffrey per se, Jim, and just don't make a mistake at this point.
Yeah, and Lusk had a really nice pass there to get around Martel, and Martel, you can tell, isn't really battling back too hard. They both know they're going to qualify. As we get a look here, and look at that, just outbroke Martel. Look at that, just slid right by. That was like a hot knife through butter there. Wow, threading the needle.
I didn't think that truck was going to make it through turn 1. Looked like he was destined for the tires, but he slid it a little bit, and that was a real nice pass for Martel. So he gets back around Lusk in that battle for 3rd and 4th position, and now finds himself kind of back into the position in which they started, with Joe Lusk now back to 3rd, passing to Martel, who drops down to position number 4. White flag, though, final lap for Heat Race number 1. Sant has been relatively unchallenged. You can see Proudfoot right on his bumper there. Difference has been anywhere from 2 to 6 truck lengths, I think, over the course of this race. There's a couple of corners where he got awfully close, but I don't think at the point where he wanted to put a bumper to him. So Proudfoot can feel good, I think, challenging the top car in the qualifying session, but certainly Bobby Sant Jr. looking pretty stout right now.
He's definitely looking pretty stout. Both these guys are teammates. They both know they're qualifying in. And, one of the big things here is they've been out front. They've had no challengers. These guys are getting ample time to look at every single corner and every single inch of this track. Meanwhile, the guys in the back that are fighting in traffic, they're not getting a real good look at things. And, this is definitely not boding well for the rest of the field as we make it to that main event, because these top 2 trucks, they've had plenty of practice here now, even under race conditions.
And one thing to note, I talked about the drivers at the back fighting for position because that'll dictate where they start for the LCQ. Well, same for your transfers. This will dictate where the top cars start for the main, but we will have an invert of the top 6 trucks for the feature. So that means that Sant, if he finishes right now up front, not necessarily going to be on the front row for tonight's main event. Final quarter at Long Beach. It's the real tight turn number 11. Both the Fistful of Bourbon trucks up front make it through clean, and it'll be pole to checker for Bobby Sant Jr. winning Heat Race number 1, and it will advance to the feature. He'll be joined by Brandon Proudfoot, who comes home in 2nd. Joe Lusk hangs on with that late pass on Connor Martel for 3rd and 4th, respectively. Connor Barry 5th, and Darren Hardesty with issues on the last lap of this race. He was P6 last time by at the white flag. Instead, it's Mason Prater for P6 to take the final transfer spot. What happened in traffic there?
I don't know, man. That was a tough break. That you definitely don't want to be the odd man out. You don't want to be 7th looking at the top 6. He's going to have a tough road ahead going through that last chance qualifier that's going to be stacked with talent as we take a look here, Evan, at our top 10.
The seventh on the back to go to the LCQ, so Drapkin Stratton, and most importantly, Darren Hardesty, who had P6 until he drove it into the tires on his own in turn 9 on the last lap of that heat race, going to be booted, along with Trenton Briley, Keith Jeffrey, and Liam Sheen. They're all going to be going LCQ racing a little bit later on. Let's take a look at your starting grid now for heat race 2 as we roll. It's Connor Parise and Andy Trippiano on the front row with Bobby Rafferty and Matt Everhart. Joshua Gaiman and Mikey Lawrence. Ron Capps will start 7th, Chad Reed at 8th. That's going to be the all-star row for row 4. David Bodio along with John Capps, 9th and 10th. You've also got Brock Dickerson, Ronnie Anderson, and Blake Williams in the number 13 spot at the back. Pace car already going to run off and through. You can see they struggle with that hairpin at slow conditions. Going to be fun when we send all these trucks in there at full speed, but it's Parise's field to control, looking for the green flag on heat race 2.
Yeah, Parise, we got to give this kid a lot of credit. He's become a world-class iRacer, in multiple disciplines here. And I know, the off-road trucks is something that he's really had to learn. But he's definitely one of the guys that I got favorited here as we take a look here in this corner. And look at that, 3 wide at one point going through that corner.
And so far, so good. It's going to get really tight, though, here through the roundabout. The 07 machine fighting through, so Everhart going to pick up a spot maybe on the 17 to Joshua Gaiman. A lot of contact even further back at a spinner for Dave Bodio. He is around after starting 10th. That's the one-way ticket to the very back of the running order as all these trucks mid-pack hanging it out there through turn number 5. And a left-hander 4-6, your leader separating just a little bit. Connor Parise controls the race lead.
Yeah, Parise, a really smart driver. He's not one of those drivers that is real exuberant. He doesn't put on a big show. He just puts his head down. He gets business done. Out front, he's definitely dangerous. He's going to be a tough guy to force a mistake on. Parise, normally when he gets some air like this, he hits his marks and he really knows how to lay down some lap times.
I'm just enjoying the scenic shots. I think it's fun seeing these trucks on track anytime, but at Long Beach, it's quite the sight. I think the iRacing team did an awesome job getting this massive undertaking into the service. Watching Ronnie Anderson now in a battle for about 9th position, started in 12th, but is up a couple from the start of this race. He's all over the back of Chad Reed up the road in the number 22 truck. They're going to drag race down to East Shoreline Drive. It's going to be a long run to turn number 1. In fact, they'll just push each other all the way down. That's Anderson on the bumper. Reed now, he'll look to the inside and maybe play a game of checking on the brakes into the first corner.
Yeah, and I'm just looking down this list, in the second half of this group here. We got Mikey Lawrence, real-world trophy truck driver. We got Chad Reed, one of the greatest supercross racers of all time. We got Ronnie Anderson, a current generation star in short course and UTV racing. And then we got Bilko Williams, who has raced rallycross in the real world, but he's one of the most accomplished FMXers of all time. I mean, you want to talk about some fun personalities. We got it right here on the streets of Long Beach.
And they're all together right now. That's a great pack, but it's all outside of the top 6 for the moment. Picking up the battle for the race lead. Connor Parise's got it, but Bobby Rafferty wants it. He's closed in a little bit in the battle for the top position in this one. And in 3rd place, Andy Trippiano, not to be forgotten, lurking in 3rd. 4th is still Matt Everhart. It's Joshua Gaiman in 5th, and then Mikey Lawrence in P6, the bubble driver at the moment, as we look to put 2 laps of 6 down this time through once more. It's those Fistful of Bourbon entries, 1 and 2.
Yeah, those Fistful of Bourbon trucks with some backing from General Tire. And, talking about Bobby Rafferty, I mean, here's a guy who he drives a little bit of everything in iRacing. But going back to our Triple Crown, Evan, I believe it was at Laguna Seca where he actually took a podium there on the pavement. So Pro 2's on the pavement. Bobby Rafferty, he seems to know what he's doing. So for him to run strong out here as we take a look back.
Here's a replay from earlier. That 2nd place for Rafferty came in the sim racer part of that Pro 2 Invitational. This was the cluster on the opening lap of this race, and that was the near flip for the 60 to Dave Bodio. We didn't see how it started. I just saw a lot of trucks getting together, and next thing we knew, he was turned the long way around. So far, no trucks have ended up in the fountain. but that's at least 2 that have tried, it seems. And there's a bit of a shunt for the 23 truck right off and into the tires. Brock Dickerson was assisted in that one after starting 11th. He falls down the running order to position number 12 right now. And there is Blake Bilko Williams, Dak in the 13th position. Who says if you're at the back, you can't have some fun? He's burning up some rubber, trying to get around those corners, and that's a tight hairpin. I'm not going to knock the strategy.
No, he's, you know, and you never know with Bilko. He's smart. You know, this guy is really smart. He's actually a great driver in the real world on pavement, and he might be trying some techniques knowing, hey, I'm in the LCQ now. So let's try a few different techniques and see what might stick here at Long Beach. So knowing him, he's not just having fun back there in the 13th spot. He's actually trying to find a few tricks for this LCQ.
Launching a battle for 4th and 5th position at the moment. Joshua Gaiman and Matt Everhart going at it. Gaiman made the pass this past time by. The 07 trying to fight back, but at least for the moment, it's Gaiman's spot to be had after he started in the number 5 spot. He moves up into position 4. Other than that, not a ton of changes. We have talked about Bobby Rafferty being P2 basically this entire race. He was actually 3rd on the grid, but used that positioning to make a quick pass. That's how that changed up front. And you talk about all the real-life stars in this one, Jim. We talked about this earlier. Ron Capps running, you know, in basically everything on the sim, right, and has participated in a lot of these eShort course events. He's back here tonight riding in P9, and some issues up the road there for the 702 and John Capps.
Yeah, that's Ron Capps' brother. He DM'd us today and said, hey, I want in the race. I want to race against my brother. So you got Ron and John both doing some battle here at Long Beach. And I got to tell you, you know, they're both on the, you know, looking to qualify and say, you know, I believe in 8th and 9th right now. But, you know, you think John's going to let up for Ron? There's no chance that's going to happen.
I'm surprised that Ron let up for John there through the that part of the racetrack where we were on board with him, because if it's my silhouette up the road, if anything, I'm going to hit him harder than anybody else. So he cut him a break that one time. We'll see if that is reciprocated a little bit later on. Just like we saw, though, in Heat Race 1, 1 and 2 pulling away, but still fighting with each other. Rafferty is all over the back of that number 56 truck up the road for the 11, I should say, of Connor Parise. He actually is able to pull a little bit through that hairpin at the end of the lap. This time by 2 laps to go. Can Rafferty pull this off and do what Proudfoot was unable to do in that first heat?
Yeah, you know, they're nice and tight, running the same lines here, and got a couple of teammates, so they know each other really well. But I don't know, Rafferty, he's a little bit of a wild card. He's got no problem bumping and banging, even with his good friends. So we'll see here. Yeah, as you see, gets in the back of Parise there, it looks like. Just a hair, give him a love tap, let him know he's there. So we may have some fireworks yet before this thing's over.
Well, we've seen a handful of trucks get shoved off into the tires or into the wall thus far, so how disciplined can you be if you're Rafferty? Obviously not afraid to move the 11 truck out of the way, but you got to do it in a way in which you don't just totally take him out of this thing. Of course, they are fighting for preferred track position in the main, although with an invert, I don't think it's going to matter. It should be the top 2 from each of your heats that get shuffled up just a little bit anyway. So in theory, I guess P2 would be better than P1 with that, but that's not something that Bobby Rafferty really cares about right now, to be honest. He just wants to beat out this battle for the win in heat race number 2. White flag this time, but you can see the gap. There's 3rd position, Andy Tropiano. It was still 4th for Gaiman, 5th for Everhart, and P6 for Mikey Lawrence. So you're not missing anything in traffic. Let's go on board with Rafferty coming to the white flag. It's 127 miles an hour, Jim, into turn 1.
I tell you what, 127 miles an hour in an off-road truck is bad fast. Let me tell you, these things do not have the downforce of an Indy car, and these things get pretty sketchy at those types of speeds. They start floating around. iRacing has done a phenomenal job in capturing what the feel is behind the wheel of a real off-road truck, and I got to tell you, they're quite the handful anytime you get them above 100, 115 miles an hour.
Here's a second look at Chad Reed, back half of the racetrack on his own in the number 22 machine. That's the left-hander for 10. And then the real tight hairpin in turn number 11, and was able to navigate that okay. So that's him back in traffic, trying to get his way around with the battle for the race lead. 3 quarters left as we go back down East Seaside Way. Is Rafferty going to put a move to Connor Parise? Flashes a nose to the inside. Hard under braking. Side by side for the lead. They touch. Parise's got the inside here, but if Rafferty can hang, he'll have the inside for the hairpin. No, the 11 truck clears. Parise holds on, gets into the throttle, and from pole to checker, heat race 2 goes to Connor Parise. Without challenge, though, it's going to be a second for Bobby Rafferty. Here's a fight for third, beating and banging all the way to the line. It's Andy Tripiano taking that spot by 6/1000ths of a second over Joshua Gaiman.
Wow, what a battle that was. I mean, that was a photo finish there. A couple of great battles as we see a little bit of celebrating in those Fistful of Bourbon General Tire trucks around the fountain. But, you got to give it to Rafferty. Teammates, he threw one out there. He threw a Hail Mary. He almost made it stick there at the end. You got to give him a lot of credit. He wasn't going to settle for second place.
It was Gaiman all the way until just a moment before the start-finish line. So Parise, Rafferty, Tripiano, and Gaiman 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll also be Matt Everhart and Ronnie Anderson advancing. So the second race in a row, the driver 6th on the white flag lap is not P6 and transferring. Lawrence falls out. Ronnie Anderson gets the spot moving on. Lawrence caps, Bodio caps, and then the back 3 on the grid. Reed, Dickerson, and Williams going to be headed to ALCQ. So this one just holding for a minute for timing and scoring, and everybody on the lead lap to finish, and they now have, so your top 6 are moving on, and now we move to heat race number 3. Let's take a look at your starting grid once more, and it's Josh Fox at the top of the board for this one. He'll lead us to the green flag alongside the 14 machine of James Ambrosius, Josh Edmondson, Roland Johns on row number 2.
We move to William Booth, Gary Green, Kyle Cooper, and Holden Heitritter. We got some real-world stars there mixed in, so definitely excited to see them out here having some fun.
More big names, Reese Newer back there, and Cam Peterson with a long road to go. How will he fare from position number 10 atop Jesse Isidore and Luke Knupp, 11th and 12th position? That's a look top to bottom at your Fistful of Bourbon starting grid for heat race number 3. Of course, Peterson won everything in the World Cup back in April. First place at all of them. Most recently a winner for heat race 2 in the Crandon Pro 4 World Cup. He has a lot of work to do to get to tonight's feature, though, starting from row number 5. Josh Fox, powerhouse on the front row, going to be alongside James Ambrosius. Turn 1, especially, though, 2 and 3 through the fountain's been crazy every opening lap thus far. Let's see how we do it for heat race 3.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting here. Edmondson in the 3rd spot, one of the newest signings for 2021 for Jim Beaver eSports. It's the first major event he's running our colors. Really excited to have Edmondson on the rosters. He's getting pump bang early there. He's got a pile up behind him.
No shock they didn't even make it to the fountain this time through. I think the one who got the worst of all of that was William Booth, who was the one turned around in the 51 truck. He got tagged by the 512. I also saw one truck just totally miss the corner, and that stacked a couple of them up. That may have been the 2 of Roland Johns. So those issues happened towards the front of the field, and it is allowed first and second to get away. But it's James Ambrosius with the pass on Josh Fox. He leads for the moment. For how long? Fox gives him a shot, goes for the undercut, and a battle for the race lead down the back straightaway.
Just hum down that back straightaway. One of the coolest things I think that iRacing's been able to capture, if you look inside the wheel wells, you start seeing glowing and sparks out of the brakes. I think it is so rad how realistic these trucks are on this track.
And by my count, by the way, I saw the speed limit, 25 miles an hour sign down there. By my calculations, they were doing about 93 miles an hour over the speed limit that time. in that high-speed run down to turn number 9. But Fox does make the pass for the race lead. He'll pull a little bit of distance and maybe right the ship here as Ambrosius will try to get back to him, but not to discredit the 14. Josh Fox is a bad, fast driver that's going to be awfully hard to touch. Here's what happened into turn number 1. Watch Roland Johns here in the 2 truck outside, making the turn in, and just goes too deep. He got touched right there by the 58, and then they all plow in behind, and that is the 48 of Cam Peterson, who we hyped up as one of the best drivers in these trucks on the service. He was involved early, so he loses a handful of positions, I think, early. Here's Booth in a 51 truck who ended up on his lid. There was the help there. Actually kept it on all fours, but just ended up the wrong way around. So turn 1 chaos. 3 races in a row. And then it didn't stop there. Back down and into the fountain. It's Kyle Cooper taking out all the flowers, and he's the one who ended up on his lid. It's a great shot from that camera as he ended up on the tires. So at least 3 drivers, big issues at the start of this race.
Yeah, Cam Peterson all the way back into 12. Looks like he may ultimately end up in the LCQ. I mean, who would have ever thought we'd be in a race involving off-road trucks and Cam Peterson would be sitting in last looking at an LCQ spot? I mean, that shows you, how diverse this track at Long Beach is. But, we got to give a lot of credit to Josh Fox. I mean, this is he is something else. I put him probably in the top 5 or 10 short course racers, on iRacing. And, he is definitely dropping the hammer here at Long Beach and, showing why he's got the skills that he does.
And he extends his lead a little bit. He was the fastest truck on track last time. Here's a good battle, though, for 7th and 8th. Roland Johns with all that damage from the Lapwood incident, funning against Holden Heitritter. So 7th and 8th position. Racing down into turn number 1, the advantage for Johns at the moment. Can Heitritter, though, make a move into corner 1? No. It's just so tight through this whole part of the racetrack there. You're basically up against one wall, up against the other, that there's not a lot of room to fit trucks in side by side. So I think the emphasis is going to be on Heitritter here to maybe take advantage of a mistake, but it's Johns' spot for now. That is for position number 7. Now, up the road is, of course, who they're chasing in P6, Reese Newer, the driver on the bubble. Here's another good fight for 4th and 5th between Gary Green and Luke Knupp.
Look at Knupp. He's showed himself as one of the best short course iRacers. We've seen this young kid, come up through the ranks here on the iRacing service. He's won a lot of league races. He's run strong, and I believe, Crandon, he ended up taking the win. He's definitely shown a little bit of diversity here. Looking for a spot here in the top 6 to qualify into that main event.
And for your leaders, now just completing lap number 3, so halfway in this 3rd heat race. But, for at least Green and Knupp, you don't want to fight with each other too much because this is what you want to avoid. A lot of contact in the battle for the final transfer spot. Reese Newer had it, but he is getting roughed up from behind. Here's the challenge. It's John's left-hand side, right-hand side is Heitritter. So they're actually side by side for 7th and 8th. But I think Newer feels like a couple more shots are coming, and a pass on the outside for Holden Heitritter. Slides into 1. He's now 7th, Jim, but he wants more.
Yeah, and I think Holden Heitritter, from what I'm understanding, is going to get a 5-second penalty for that turn 1 incident that he had. So he doesn't know that yet, but we do with some of the data we're getting. So he's actually kind of a non-factor here. So really the battle's between Roland Johns and Reese Newer, with Holden Heitritter in the middle, who is going to inherit 5 seconds of penalty.
Kyle Cooper, also somebody who was given a penalty post-race, but he rides in P12 at the moment. Here's the move. Long way around. One thing you can't deny is that Heitritter's fast. Do we go 3 wide? Johns to the very outside. Almost, but he'll hold. There's another touch there, and Johns gets disposed of as he sneaks through on the inside. Heitritter to P6 for now. Johns into 7th, and poor Reese Newer got used up on that lap, and it's not done because now he's got more company in the 51 truck, and off it into the tires. There is Heitritter. He blew turn 9.
No, he just totally blew that. I mean, that was just came in way too hot. Brakes locked up straight into the barricade. What a tough break for him.
We saw that happen on the final lap of Heat Race 1. And I believe it was Hardesty who had the spot and just put it into the tires on his own, lost a transfer spot, and this time it was Heitritter. And I noticed on that high-speed pass into 1, Jim, that's kind of what he did. He didn't just slow it up for the corner, right? He kind of did that slide into the corner, and that time it didn't work. Here's the second look, though, at all the contact that happened with all these drivers, but a lot of self-inflicted errors and a lot of help, as this was a wild lap between these 3 trucks.
Those three trucks slice and dice. But that's what's about Long Beach. Any other road course with the runoff and the big wide stretches, you wouldn't see this. This is like a slugfest. This is like when you throw cage fighters in an MMA cage. They don't have a whole heck of a lot of room to go except for to start doing battle. And I think that's what we're seeing here at Long Beach is everything is so compact. These drivers got to drive, as they use that motocross term, elbows out.
And up at the front of the field, Bobby Sant Jr. trying to maintain at this point, and that was your second look at all of the chaos back in traffic. Also looks like there's Fox and Ambrosius for 1-2. It's going to be a 7-second difference between those drivers, so not expecting any late drama, at least up at the front of the field. In this one is Fox at the very top of the board. White flying to the air that time buys. He's just got 1.9 miles more to go till he punches his ticket into the main event. Will there be a late mistake that opens the door for Ambrosius?
Yeah, time ticking here. If you're going to make a move, you got to make quick. Then we're going to move into some LCQs. Top 6 are going to get the e-ticket ride to the main event here at Long Beach. And I got to tell you, these in-cars, this is just such a beautiful track field. Evan, we talked about the job that iRacing did, and you don't want to say that doing an actual, I guess like a NASCAR track or a specific way, they do a great job there, but Long Beach, there's so much to the backdrop here, and I got to say, iRacing just nailed it.
I can only imagine the headache licensing and everything, right? But there's so many buildings. I think that when I downloaded Long Beach, it was maybe 5 times bigger as far as the file size of this track as most other racetracks. So it was absolutely a monstrous undertaking by the iRacing team, especially under today's current circumstances. Final corner, front of the field, Josh Fox, going to be the 3rd straight driver to start for the front in the heat to win it. He'll take the checkered flag for heat race number 3. A late challenge for second behind him does not happen. Ambrosius holds P2. Josh Edmondson finishing exactly where he started 3rd. To be Gary Green across the line in position 4. And how about Luke Knupp, who started in 12th on the grid? He transfers with a P5 finish in Heat Race 3. Roland Johns, I think maybe with that final golden ticket, he's trying to hold on in a race to the start-finish line. Cam Peterson can't get there. So Johns holds off the 48 and boots one of the best to the LCQ.
Man, Cam Peterson, I got to give this guy credit. I thought he was done, Evan. I mean, I thought he didn't have a prayer. And here he is battling for the 6th and final spot at the stripe. Man, that shows you how good Cam Peterson is. He's going to be deadly in that LCQ.
The lap 1 wreck, I thought he was out of it too, and ends up coming up just shy. You can see there by just 1/10 of a second. So Cam Peterson, William Booth, Reese Dewar, and Jesse Isidore through the top 10, along with the rest of the drivers at the back second page. They are going to be headed to the LCQ. Let's take a look at your starting grid for this one. Now it gets a little bit harder. Only the top 3 advance to the feature. So Drapkin Peterson on the front row with Ron Capps and Darren Hardesty 3rd and 4th. Reese Newer and John Capps 5th and 6th. Trenton Briley and Kyle Cooper will start 7th and 8th position with Brock Dickerson and Liam Sheen 9th and 10th. Same race distance, 6 laps, but only half the amount of trucks as earlier make it to the show. Pace car off it in this time. Let's see what happens.
Not often the pace car is actually faster than the race cars. We definitely have that here at Long Beach with that Porsche pace in the field. But, this is going to be interesting. Camp Peterson, Zachary Drapkin up there on the front row. I got to think Camp Peterson's ready to drop the hammer.
He was just in a race. Most of these drivers have been sitting around waiting since their heat race. Peterson had about 20 seconds between the checkered flag and then get it onto the grid for this one. So no time to overthink it. Side by side for the race lead. The inside, the advantage for Drapkin. Here comes Ron Capstow and Peterson into the tires on his lid, up and over. That's Darren Hardesty barrel rolling and flipping down in turn number 2. A wild opening sequence of corners sees Zachary Drapkin to the race lead and Cam Peterson out of a transfer spot in P6.
Wow, what a start. Cam Peterson, start to the back, and we're going to see him battle through. You're going to see one of the best in the business now battle through traffic in only a few laps to do it. This is going to be interesting because Cam will likely try and put on a clinic here, but it's going to be tough. He's got some heavy hitters ahead of him. I mean, Reese Stewart, this kid, he's an amazing talent. Ron Capps, obviously, like he is one of the best in the iRacing service, bouncing, running just about every discipline there is. Zachary Drapkin, a real-world racer. So this is going to be interesting. This has got me as excited as these races, even though it's a LCQ, because these guys, it is go time here. Their backs are against the wall. There's no more chances. It's do it now or you're going home.
We talk a lot about how these trucks can take a lick and keep on ticking, but I'm impressed that Cam Peterson's got a truck still. He could have easily have ended up being the one on his lid. Instead, it was Hardesty, so he's lucky to still be in this. And there you can see a truck down the road without any front end left on it. I think that's John Capps in the 702. This battle is all for 5th on back, along with you got Brock Dickerson into the mix as well. Trenton Briley. They're all going to fly down into turn number 1. Can they make it through side by side? Cap's going to hang it out. A nice move. He gets roughed up, though. 2 tires in the air, and he'll lose those spots. The pass made by Briley and then Kyle Cooper. Further up the road, the other Caps, the 28 of Ron Capps, challenging Zachary Drapkin for the lead, but at least for now, these 2 trucks are good. Top 3 is the goal. They've got it, and behind them, Cam Peterson made the pass on Reese Newer, so he is back in a transfer spot in 3rd, and a mistake for the race leader. Drapkin into the tires, Capps is there, here's Peterson. How about a 3-way battle for the lead?
Yeah, Peterson's got to be really careful here sitting in that 3rd spot, because he definitely wants to push his way up, get a better spot in the, in the main event, but you definitely don't want to do something that jeopardizes yourself, because everybody's fighting for the same thing. It's really easy to get clipped and taken out, and then all of a sudden you go from fighting for a transfer spot in the main event to outside looking in.
So here's the view off of the back of new race leader Ron Capps. It was Drapkin who had it, honestly. Wasn't all that under pressure, but made that big mistake down in turn number 8, and with a mistake in 7 as well. So basically he just botched that whole section of the track. And when you open up the door for guys like an NHRA champion in Ron Capps and one of the best on the sim in Cam Peterson, you're not normally going to get away with it. You're on board with Drapkin watching those lead 2 battle. I'm not sure how many times Ron Capps has felt nervous about a car behind him, but with Cam Peterson breathing down his neck, I guarantee you he is. Peterson wants the win at LCQ number 1.
He definitely wants the win here, and look at him working left, right, outside, inside, trying to set something up. He's going to have his work cut out for him, though. Ron Capps, he's making that truck look extra wide right now.
Biggest thing I noticed there was how differently Peterson set up that following corner after the fountain. He didn't swing it wide, carry speed through. He cut it short because it was a very short chicane to turn 4. That set him up for the corner better. And now on the outside with the pass, new race leader Cam Peterson, no more than 2.5 laps later from when he was in the tires on lap number 1. What a determined drive for the 48.
Yeah, Cam, he gets a chip on his shoulder, and he's out to prove a point. We've seen him, in the World last year. He had to go all the way to the back. We inverted things and made the fast guys. We basically penalized you for being fast in the World Cup. And we saw Cam just drive from the back all the way through to the front every single race, to sweep the entire thing. I mean, this guy, he is next level good. I think his iRating, is like 2nd on the service in short course. He's won just about everything. I mean, he's widely regarded as probably the best short course racer on the entire iRacing service, and we're seeing it here in this LCQ.
There's the tumble that Darren Hardesty took, cartwheeling down in between turns 1 and 2. His night ended very early, and you saw in that first look for Cam Peterson, he was in the wreck because the truck behind him pushed him into the tires, but at the same time, that same truck kind of pushed him through the wreck. He didn't really get hung up that long in turn number 1, and that's how he's able to find himself leading this race, this time by 4 laps down. Going to be 2 laps to go. Your current transfers are Peterson first, Cap second, and then Zachary Drapkin in third. All of them with a pretty healthy margin, admittedly, over new 4th-placed runner, the 017 of Trenton Briley, who just made a pass on Ewers. So there's about a 2-second difference between 3rd and 4th. I'm not sure if that's something that the 017 can do.
Yeah, I don't know if, it might be able to make it up. A couple of seconds here at Long Beach is tough to make up. On a short course track, it's actually a little bit easier, but you get into these road courses, these long stretches, and it's tough. He's going to have his work cut out for him. But, let's talk a little bit about Ron Capps. Here's a guy that goes 330 miles an hour in a straight line for a living. But to see his finesse around Long Beach in a short course truck nonetheless, I mean, this is pretty darn impressive of it.
Well, we talk about those real-life crossover guys, right? Chad Reed in here as well, somebody notable, but I had alluded to this off at the top, but we talked more in depth earlier this year when real-life motorsports came crashing to a halt, the fact that Ron kind of dove headfirst into everything on the sim. I don't think I've seen many vehicles on the iRacing service that he hasn't driven, and had a bit of a transition period there in the trucks, but now he's holding pace pretty good. You can see Peterson's not totally checked out. He's holding his own with some of the best in the business who do this sim racing thing on a professional basis. So it's been great to see how well he's learned to drive not just these trucks, but just sim race in general over the course of this season, and should be in a good position to fight for a good finish if he can maintain P2 and finish this LCQ spot in a transfer position. But Peterson up front, putting it to him. He was the best truck on track last time through. Going to be the white flag this next time by. In all 3 of our heat races, Jim, the truck in 6th, which was the transfer spot at the white flag, did not finish there at the checkered. So Zachary Drapkin needs to be careful. He's the guy in the hot seat right now in P3.
Yeah, he's definitely the guy that he wants to break the streak here. And, oh, look at Cap's little sideways there, getting a little loose, and Drapkin not able to capitalize. But, yeah, I think he probably knows that. And he's looking in his rearview mirror going, yeah, I got a little bit of wiggle room here. I don't know that I'm going to risk anything.
And he jokingly said when Caps got a little bit squirrely there in the hairpin, 1 more lap to go, don't forget. So I think they're both aware to just get this thing home in one piece. Caps a little bit deep into turn number 1. Do we see a fight for second? No. Drapkin thought about it, Jim, and to the point we just made, he got on the brakes. There's no reason to send those trucks into the fountain side by side and risk it. You're good as long as you just maintain. Riley is 5 seconds back and forth.
Yeah, and I know in the real world, these trucks, they actually don't work right when you lay up. You've actually got to drive them at 100% or they just don't work. They don't hook up, they don't accelerate and brake right. I don't know how that transitions to the sim, but I think knowing iRacing, it probably transitions pretty well. And we see, Caps is trying to lay up here, and he's starting to make mistakes, and I think it's because the truck just isn't working the way it should because he's not driving it as hard as he should.
Side by side, down Seaside Way, Drapkin on the brakes and backs off. Right here, this right-hander, turn 9, has caught several drivers out tonight. No risk throwing it in there. At the front of the field, Cam Peterson went up and down, not only in his heat, but in this LCQ as well. Crashed in turn number 1, but he is on his own at a turn 11. Checkered flag and a berth to the future. Peterson is moving on. Ron Capps finishes in 2nd, and 3rd is Zachary Drapkin. Those 3 drivers will advance to tonight's feature race.
Great run by Peterson. I know I think he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder heading into this one, and if he did head into this one, he really is going into this main event. He's going to have his work cut out for him there, starting towards the back. But Ron Cabb, Zachary Drapkin, that was a great run. I know a little less fireworks in this one than we saw in the last race there towards the end, but definitely a good one. And what do we have? One more LCQ left. We're taking 3 more to the main event, right?
Oh yeah, we're not done, and LCQ is still to come. There's a look at your finishing results. Trenton Briley, Reese Newer, Kyle Cooper, John Capps, Brock Dickerson, Darren Hardesty, and Liam Sheen. Their nights come to an end. They are eliminated from tonight's Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. Let's take a look at your Fistful of Bourbon starting grid for LCQ number 2. Mikey Lawrence and Sean Stratton on the front row, along with William Booth and David Abodio on row number 2. That'll be 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, 5th through 8th, Bodie Kreider, Jesse Isidore, Chad Reed, and Keith Jeffrey. Jeffrey, he had that really exciting spill earlier in the weekend. And Holden Heitritter and Blake Bilko Williams going to round out our top 10.
The 10 trucks once more fighting for 3 transfer positions into, if these heats at LCQs have been any indication, an absolute thriller of a 24-truck, 10-lap final. That is next. But before we can get there, we have to send 3 more drivers through to tonight's feature race. Green flag flies. We're racing for the last chance qualifier.
3 more chances to make your way into the main event. Let's see what happens here as we go down. We've seen some excitement in this corner so far, Evan.
I don't think we've made it through without some sort of incident in any race thus far tonight. A little bit loose there for the 05 truck, but all together, so far so good. And there we go, 1 truck up and over and into the flowers. And out of this race, just like that, was that Jesse Isidore in the 5:15. Somebody nearly ended up in the water. And up at the front of the field, Mikey Lawrence being challenged by Sean Stratton for the lead.
Yeah, Mikey Lawrence, real-world trophy truck racer. Also dabbling in the sim quite a bit here on iRacing. He's looking pretty strong there, but Stratton, he's kind of laying back. He's got a few laps. He's going to try and set something up. You're going to see him really look lines Lawrence is running right now, and at some point try and pick him off.
And I was so confident. I said we made it through turn 1. I was feeling good, and then all of a sudden we saw that truck upside down by the fountain in turns number 2 and 3. But for the most part, okay, and a great battle for the lead. 3rd place at the moment is William Booth. That is the bubble in that blue and white number 51 truck. But up at the front of the field, that 72 is Stratton trying to find an inside spot through the hairpin. Doesn't happen this time. And you kind of see behind. The top 2 are breaking away. But 3rd on back, much tighter together. Does Stratton make a move for the lead to the inside in turn number 1? He'll have to get hard on the brakes as the 85 let him go. He does. Lawrence does not want to play that game. And it is Sean Stratton to the lead.
Yeah, Mikey Lawrence, you can tell just a lot of room there. Goes, this is way too early in this LCQ. We're sitting here out front. I don't want to risk anything. Let's keep the truck clean. He kind of conceded the position, it looked like, a little bit.
I think, same thing that we saw in that battle for 2nd and 3rd at the end of those recent LCQ. Would you like that extra spot? Yes. Is it worth jumping the truck? No. So, with Stratton kind of throwing it in there on the bottom at a high-speed braking point, he said, that's all you. Let's ride on board. This is with Jesse Isidore. That is a whole lot of not the racetrack, and he is upside down in the flowers. Tough break for the driver who started on the cusp of a transfer spot in P6. And right there you can see, hiked up behind him was that the 36 of Blake Bilko Williams, and it ended up putting him off track and upside down in the fountain. I know it's a scenic shot, but I know Isidore did not want to be the driver to give it to us.
Yeah, everybody loves the fountain. You just don't love to end up in the fountain. But like you said, probably one of the most scenic crashes we've seen yet. We got a lot of contact there. Was that Chad Reed looked like brake checking, and it looked like Keith Jeffrey getting in the back of him.
And that was a replay with those cars. This is now, I think, back to live. That was off in turn number 1. He got a little bit loose, and the 88 machine was involved in that one. Holton Heitrid in the 512 also. So that was all the action going on mid-pack outside of the transfer spots. Now back to a live look at the fight for the lead. Stratton's got it, and again, Mikey Lawrence kind of backed out of that one to not make it too much of a fight, but they are being caught by both third and fourth position. First and second, not as safe as they appeared to be about 2 laps to go. Booth, still the bubble truck. There he is in the 51, but you're on board. Dave Bodio, he's the driver who needs one more spot to get a feature ticket, and he can see 3 opportunities just up the road.
Yeah, Bodio had the rug pulled out from under him in his very first race in that heat race, and I think he's definitely knows his, he's going to have to run really clean here to make his way back up to the front. He's not risking anything. He knows, he's got a strong truck. We've seen him drop some really good lap times and just really a lot of unfortunate luck in that first heat race. He really wants to make this main event.
And does a mistake happen? It seems like that has been kind of the Achilles heel for most drivers. It hasn't really been somebody dumping you or, some sort of an incident like that. It's been maintaining a clean race and staying mistake-free. You can have a little bit of a slower lap, give up a couple of tenths here or there to keep the truck on track, but if you push it and you fence it, that's 5-6 seconds gone, and you can basically kiss a transfer position away. Those top 4 were real tight together last lap at this point. They have separated out just a little bit more, but amongst all 4 of them, the difference is only about 2 seconds. Looking from high and above at William Booth, the driver on the bubble. For the moment, so far so good. But I feel like he wants to make a move to Mikey Lawrence sooner rather than later and then put Lawrence in that position of kind of being the driver on the edge. And we saw Lawrence be a little bit passive when Stratton made the move. Jim, I don't expect him to do the same if Booth tries to make a pass because he knows if I fall back to third, then I'm really in trouble.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a buffer there, sitting in the second spot. He definitely doesn't want to drop back to the third spot. So, he gave a little bit of leeway to Stratton, but it's not going to happen for this next one. You definitely don't want to be in that bubble spot at all. And Mikey Lawrence, it looks like he's starting to push back a little bit. Those laps are starting to tick in. He's really been in groove. And we may see him at some point make a move back for that first spot. Now he's been sitting behind Stratton for a couple laps. He's been able to see the lines as Stratton runs. And you know what? Mikey Lawrence may have a spot picked out where he's going to tuck his nose in there and try and make something stick.
It's always good to be able to absorb, right? These drivers have been practicing all week or after quite some time on the sim, but to be able to run behind some of these drivers, be out there in a full pack, I think gives them a real good opportunity to kind of learn some things. And if somebody beats you off the corner, well, you're looking at them. You can kind of see what they did differently than you. Is a constant learning process for these guys. That time by, it was 2 laps to go. We're working lap number 5 of 6 in this final LCQ. Still no changes up front. Who's going to be the first one to falter? It looks like that Bodio is within striking distance if he wants to put a chrome horn to Booth. The question is, though, and if he wants to get that.
Yep, we're seeing, look at that. Just these top 3 are just running such good lines through here. No mistakes to be had. It looks like they're all in unison. Nobody's really picking up any time on each other. This is kind of interesting. All 3 with almost identical lap times, same lines. It's going to be really tough for somebody to make a move now. Now the number 16 Bodio, as you said, he's starting to push Booth a little bit, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. They're all running almost identical laps.
We're on board with Dave Bodio in the 16 truck. Let's ride for a minute. White flag in the air. We saw they touched in that final corner. Is that a sign of things to come? Bodio still about a half a truck length away from a ticket to the feature.
Yeah, he is pushing. He is trying. We're going to see if he can make something happen here, but he is definitely this is where, all bets are off. He's going to send it. He knows he's going home if he doesn't, and you're going to see some fireworks here with only a few corners remaining. You watch Dave Bodio. He is going to throw this thing in. I would not want to be William Booth.
And if you're Booth, do you expect it coming? How well can you drive defensively here? Look at the 16 truck now looking to the inside for the real tight right-hander. He'll throw it in there in turn 8. They touch Booth into the wall, and it'll be a drag race down Seaside Way. Outside is Booth, inside is Bodio. Only one of these drivers can make it to the feature. Hard on the brakes for Booth, though. They touch again. He stays in front, now sideways, door to door. Bodio the advantage. He'll have the inside for the hairpin. What does Booth do from the outside? Goes for the crossover, can't do it. And with the last corner pass, Dave Bodio is going to advance to the feature. The LCQ is won by Sean Stratton.
Wow. And you got to give Dave Bodio credit, because I thought he was just going to send it in there. There was so many opportunities for him to do dirty on that one, and he kept it clean there. That was a 100% clean pass over Booth. You got to give him a lot of credit. Not a lot of drivers that have that composure. A lot of guys would have got real wide there and started roughing them up, but clean racing by both those guys. That's what you like to see.
So well executed. The top 3 that advance, it's going to be Stratton, Lawrence, and Bodio. It'll be a ticket home for Booth, Cryer, Heitritter, Reed, Jeffrey, Williams, and Isidore. So that was a lot of racing in about 60 minutes of time, and want to welcome in and bring in the third member of our broadcast crew, Tiffany Stone. Tiffany, I know these drivers have been all over the place, haven't had a chance to chat with any of them yet, but you've been watching these crazy heats at LCQs. What'd you think so far?
I think it's crazy, and just like you guys were talking about the whole time with Cam Peterson coming in, having a little chip on his shoulder, he's pretty much won everything that we've done throughout the year of 2020, and I'm excited to see him. But then having Dave Bodio come in and that last lap and really pushing it, that's another guy I would watch out for too.
I almost wonder if there's drivers who had to go to the LCQ, Jim, will maybe benefit from the fact that they had a little bit more track time, right? Going out there for another set of 6 laps, of course. They'll be towards the rear. What I'm really looking forward to for this main is going to be that top 6 invert.
Yeah, I think that top 6 invert's going to be key. You got a guy like Sant who, we saw it run really strong. Now he's going to be starting, behind some drivers. And, it's kind of one of those things like you had talked about. None of the guys really played it to their favor, but, if you would have let up, it actually would have benefited you a bit. And, these guys didn't. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that comes into play. I mean, Tiffany, we got to put you on the spot. You've called all these. I mean, Cam Peterson, he's going to be starting all the way in the back. What do you think we're going to see out of him?
I mean, even though Cam's starting all the way in the back, we're looking at some of my notes right here. He is just a great driver. He started in the back in different ones, including the Crandon World Cup, and then made his way all the way to the front. So just because you're in the back, but like you've said, we do that for the drivers that are the fastest, and he's one of the top sim iRacers out there. And with that being said, of course he's going to drive fast. He has a little bit. He's actually had 6 extra laps compared to some of the other guys out there. So I think that might play an advantage because he has that extra time, the extra seat time out there at Laguna Seca right now.
Well, one thing we talked about, guys, as well earlier, right, when we were racing in some of the other events this year, was track time, right? The obvious advantage to the sim racers. Long Beach, as we've talked about a couple times tonight, is so new to the iRacing service. Somebody like a Cam Peterson, who at Crandon and Wild West and some of these other places would probably just have hundreds, if not thousands of laps under his belt just based on racing on the sim all the time, probably didn't necessarily have that same advantage into this race. He's had a couple of issues, so maybe that's why he's had the up and down in this one, Jim, but maybe this could be the race where we see an underdog or maybe one of the non-sim pros have a better chance, per se, because it's a newer track. Nobody really has a ton of experience banked.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be interesting. We're going to see who can really, be diverse. And I don't know. I'm going to defer to you, T. What are your thoughts on Ronnie Anderson? I mean, this guy can drive four-wheel drives. He can drive two-wheel drives. He can drive just a bit of everything. He's a real-world guy. He impressed me the way he drove from the back. What are your thoughts on Ronnie Anderson heading into this main event?
I mean, I've actually had the pleasure to see Ronnie Anderson race in real life. And, coming off UTV World Championships earlier this year when we had them, out in Arizona. And Ronnie's just a great driver overall. And I think when you take a little bit of real world racing and then throw in exactly what Evan was saying, that nobody really has a lot of time on this track or on this course at all, put all that together. And I think the big thing, though, for everybody going into this is just staying calm, not hitting that fountain turn, as fast as they normally would, and then just keeping it on, all four wheels on there. But the big one is staying calm and staying present to what's going on.
And I think I'm going to have to put the over-under on how many trucks are involved in something in turn one, I think, as a big key for what happens in this main event.
Yeah, I truthfully, I think I would rather either be starting first or starting last. But I wouldn't want to be in the middle heading into those first couple of corners because we've seen a lot of fireworks.
We've seen 10 trucks-ish, 10 to 13 in these heats in the LCQs. Going to be nearly double that as we get set to go racing for the feature. So we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, it is the main event on the line. 5 tickets to the 2021 World Cup on the line. You're watching the Jim Beaver eSports Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. The feature race is next on RaceMont TV.
That's some smooth whiskey.
Yeah, about as smooth as my silk pajamas.
You always wear them silk pajamas?
Sure as shooting. Put these on, it's like laying in a hotel bed made of creme brulee.
I just came back from France. Casual chic is all the rage.
Voulez-vous coucher pajama, my man?
I didn't understand a word of that.
It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful.
And back live from the virtual Long Beach Grand Prix circuit on RaceMont TV for our continuing coverage of the Jim Beaver eSports Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. Evan Pasoko, Jim Beaver, Tiffany Stone on the call with you. 5 races already done tonight. The big one is still to come. We take a look once more at tonight's format. We've already gotten our 6 transfers from each heat race, plus our 3 transfers from each LCQ. So up next is a 10-lap, 24-truck, possible melee, possible anything that could happen, I think, Jim, down into turn number 1 most importantly. But, we only saw those chaotic moments, the flips and the spins and the hits and everything. But even as a great example at the end of that last LCQ, some great driving where these drivers are not intentionally running over each other, but they're using each other up, they're leaning on each other. This is a great way, I think, to close out what's been a great year of racing with 5 spots on the line for that 2021 World Cup, which arguably may be the bigger story than the race win here tonight.
Yeah, we've got some big stuff coming with that World Cup, and I think, that's why we've had such a great turnout. A lot of drivers wanting to guarantee them spots into an invitation-only event. We've got some massive news coming in the coming weeks in regards to that World Cup that'll be held in January at some point. So that's definitely on the line. But, this is also a major, eShort course event, probably the last big one of the year. You definitely want to send it off on a high note. A lot of these drivers, one last hurrah for 2020, and I think there's a lot of bragging rights involved in this. You win a marquee event, it definitely gives you a lot of mojo heading into next season. I know we have leagues starting real quick. We've got our Triple Crown coming. So there's a lot still on the line. But like you said, the big thing is there's 5 spots up for grabs for the drivers not already qualified into the Jim Beaver eSports eShort Course World Cup 2021 edition.
And we're ready to do it. Let's go trackside and take a look at our Fistful of Bourbon starting grid. And it is with a twist. So the top 6 will have an invert, but it is James Ambrosius starting this one. Therefore, from the top alongside Bobby Rafferty in the number 2 position. Another Fistful of Bourbon entry for Brandon Proudfoot in 3rd. And the Williams eSports entry of Josh Fox is 4th.
Yeah, we got Connor Parise in the 5th spot, Bobby St. Jr., who is our fastest driver all the way back there in the 6th spot. Joe Lusk and Andrew Tropiano in the 8th spot.
Continue it on through. Josh Edmondson and Connor Martell going to make up row number 5. It'll be 9th and 10th. Joshua Gaiman starts in 11th, with Gary Green starting from P12.
And it's going to be Connor Berry, Matt Everhart. I got to give a little side shout out to Matt Everhart. He does a lot of things behind the scenes for not only our team, but the sim racing community. Matt Everhart there in the 14th spot. Great to see him getting some fun behind the wheel. We got Luke Knupp and Mason Prater in the 15th and 16th spot.
And then still on through the field, Ronnie Anderson, 17th position with Roland Johns at 18th. Through the LCQ transferees, what a challenge in front of Cam Peterson, who will start from 19th position, and then Sean Stratton rounds out the top 20.
Yeah, then we've got the legend Ron Capps in the 21st spot, Mikey Lawrence, trophy truck driver in the 22nd, Zachary Drapkin in 23rd, and Dave Bodio in the 24th spot.
And that is a look top to bottom at your Fistful of Bourbon starting grid. So again, a little bit different than what we saw earlier. We are nearly double the distance, from 6 laps long to 10 laps long. So it is going to be a little bit more of an endurance one, plus twice as many trucks. I hope that you're enjoying the action here on RaceBot TV. I encourage you, if you want to catch some more sim racing action, to make sure to follow us on all your favorite social platforms, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, as well as with live streaming here on YouTube and also on Twitch as well. Happy that you're with us for this final major event for the eShort course calendar in 2020, and happy that you're hanging out on RaceSpot TV. The pace car down and in, it'll be James Ambrosius from the front row of the grid as we say, let's go feature race racing from Long Beach. This is the Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown.
A lot of Fistful of Bourbon trucks mixed in. Those General Tires as we head down here into turn number 1. How wide are we going to try and go through this corner, Evan?
So far, just 2. Let's see how it goes. Contact for the lead. The 7 into the wall. It's Ambrosius to the point. So far, okay. Second place goes to Proudfoot. 3rd is Bobby Rafferty. No regard for the landscaping, but I think we made it.
I think we made it, but the gardener's not going to be happy. Let's put it that way. There was a lot of flowers taken off in that, but a whole lot cleaner than I thought we were going to see, Evan. What a great start to this race.
And look at that mid-pack. I mean, there is no space back there in traffic. Here's a hard drive down and into the corner, and one truck off and into the fence that time and off in the tires. That was the 58 truck, I think it was, of maybe Barry or somebody else. No, Josh Edmondson was the one who lost out big by getting into the tires. That's the blue 528 that I'm looking at there of Connor Berry. You can tell the difference from 10 trucks in the LCQ to 24 in the main side-by-side. 3rd and 4th, Parise trying to make the pass on Bobby Rafferty.
Yeah, look at that. We saw Parise and Rafferty in their heat race battle all the way to the end, and we're seeing it again here. Those two just like magnets here at Long Beach as we got one of them turned around. That is the number 41 truck that got spun around. That is Andy Trumpiano.
Oh, Capps. Ron Capps is upside down in the hairpin. Trippiano, as you mentioned, was the first truck to go around. That hairpin is tough in a sports car, man, but it is even tougher in a Pro 2 truck. Let's see what happened here. Trippiano was in a pretty good spot, but had a little bit of help. So they kind of stacked up ahead of him, and then the 21 of Connor Martell turned him. But what happened to Capps on board with him? And he just kind of got shoved over by the truck behind him.
Yeah, that was just nothing. That wasn't Cap's fault at all. Just wrong place at the wrong time, and kind of just a pure racing incident. Poor guy had a great run through that LCQ, qualified in, and definitely a tough break for him to get rolled over here on the first lap here. But lots of time to battle back. 10 laps here at Long Beach, especially in a Pro truck, gives us a lot of opportunity to see these guys come from behind. We'll see what happens here with Ron Capps. But right now, going out front, Ambrosius, solid start, followed by Proudfoot, who was our Laguna Seca winner. So Proudfoot knows how to wheel a Pro 2 on the pavement. What a sweep that would be of all the Pro 2 asphalt events in 2021 or 2020.
And in theory, all the trucks immediately behind Ambrosius are faster because, again, the top 6 inverted. So that 14 truck was second in the last heat race. That put him at the front of the top 6 invert. So Proudfoot was better than him in the heat, but can he be better than him in this main event? These are the questions. Even the same with Fox, Parise, and Rafferty through the rest of the top 5. There's a good battle for second. Fox has got it. Parise wants it. There's Bobby Rafferty a little bit too deep. He's into the tires, and he'll throw away P5 as everybody passes him in turn 1.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there with Rafferty, as we're going to get a glimpse here, but looks like almost just a brain fade. Just drove it in too hot, and the truck didn't rotate. It looked like, a lot of these guys with the Pro 2s, to get them to rotate, you got to slide, and it looks like he just couldn't get the rear of that truck to break loose, Evan.
He turned it in like it was going to slide into the corner, but you're right, the back end of the truck just never broke loose. And instead, he just skidded right off it into the tires. Side by side for the race lead. Here comes Brandon Proudfoot trying to go long way around James Ambrosius, and they're going to be side by side down the back straightaway to one of the trickiest corners on the track in turn number 9, and the 14 car hits the eject button. New leader, lap number 3, it's Brandon Proudfoot.
Wow, great run there by Proudfoot. Just had a great exit on that corner down the long stretch and was able to just carry his speed and outdrive Ambrosius into the next corner. That being said, these guys sitting there 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place, the guys you had mentioned earlier that were actually faster than our leaders, they want to see a battle for the lead. Because anytime you lead trucks are battling, that means you've got room to make up ground. And, now with Proudfoot out front, if there's not much of a battle, it's going to be tougher for those guys to make up ground.
Full running order, left-hand side of your screen, there has been a 5-second penalty assessed to Connor Martell, so that's going to affect him on his finishing position, but not at least in contention at the moment in the fight for the race win. Of course, Bobby Sant Jr. was the driver we talked so much about early in this race after he dominated and won the first heat race in this one. He is still P5, and the work to do is now Josh Fox sets his sights on Ambrosius. Doesn't make a move this time. They're going to go to the left-hander for turn number 6. He'll go to the inside, which is good, but it'll put him on the outside for the next corner. Can Fox execute?
Look at that, Fox all the way to the outside, nothing there. Going to try and get a run here under the overpasses, and I got to tell you, that section in the real world is amazing. To hear an Indy car go under that and the echoes, obviously we can't hear it quite like you can in real life on the service, but I got to tell you, that's one of my favorite stretches in all of motorsports, just because the sound is just amazing there as we get these great aerial shots of this course.
And I will say, enjoying all this action in the virtual sense. I've never been able to get out to Long Beach Grand Prix weekend because it's always in the spring, but I know that it was just recently pushed to the fall of next year, so I think I'm going to have to take the 4.5-hour drive and check it out. As this battle for the moment ends with Parise up to 2nd, Fox to 3rd, and Bobby Sant Jr. in 4th. So they've all teamed up and put Ambrosius to the side as he falls to P5. But again, these 3 trucks now have some time to make up, because where's Proudfoot? You don't see him. He is 2.5 seconds up the road. There he is for just a brief moment. Can they surmount that with the 5.5 laps left that they have?
And I do want to mention something. The fastest guy in this whole race, moving up to 7th now, Cam Peterson. He started all the way to the back. We haven't talked with him, about him except for the start. He's up to 7th. You want to talk about a guy on the move. He's passed more people in this race than anybody else. He is on a mission, and he's got a lot of laps left to make this happen. As these laps tick down, Cam Peterson, he may be the guy to beat here.
He started way back, as you mentioned, in 19th position after he had those issues in qualifying and did come back to win his heat race into the LCQ, I should say, but it was in his heat race where he had issues that got him booted to that last chance qualifier, and I think lucky to just be in this feature because he's so fast. And this trio for third is fighting with each other, but they got to make sure they don't take each other out or slow each other down, and an ultimate pursuit of getting Proudfoot for the race lead. Side by side for third, Sant going to get underneath Josh Fox, but will that be a good place to be in when you get down to turn number one? It's going to put him on the outside of a very thin turn one, made even more so tighter by those tires on the right-hand side of the track that a couple of drivers have ended up in. They play nice for the moment. Great stuff fitting these two trucks through, but now Fox has to clamp down a little bit, and he'll maintain third.
Yeah, there was some clean racing. It's still pretty early to do something really hyper-aggressive, and I think we're seeing that. Drivers see an opportunity, and unless it's super clean, they're just not quite going to stick their nose in yet. And we still got a lot of laps. And I think some of those moves like we just saw, I think we're gonna see the elbows come out as time ticks down. But I think these drivers know there's a lot of time left on the clock. We're gonna see if something else opens up that might just be a hair easier.
Good battles through the field. Fox and Sant still going at it third and fourth, and Ambrosius and Lusk are pretty close for 5-6, but you can see all throughout the field, nobody has really fallen way off the pace. There are battles all over the field in this Pro 2 Showdown main event. Looking at the 11 truck of Connor Parise trying to get to the race leader in Brandon Proudfoot. There is a lapped truck in the middle. That's who you're seeing, Connor Martell. So that green number 21 is not for position. You got to look further up the road to Proudfoot. That gap was 2.5 seconds. It's down to underneath 2. Interval last time by at the start-finish line, a 1.89. So he is making up time, but 4 laps to go that time through. I'm not sure if it's enough of an interval to get there before he runs out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to have a shot at this thing as we watch them just weave their way around the fountain here, up and over those poor flowers that just keep getting destroyed. Good thing they're virtual because they grow back pretty quick. But looks like the clouds are starting to set in here too, and starting to get dark. Maybe visibility start becoming an issue.
We're working into about 5 o'clock, 5:15 p.m. in sim time. iRacing is all about the dynamic weather, and that affects track conditions and track temperatures and whatnot. So all of those are factors that the track has maybe changed just a little bit from the start of the night. More rubber has been put down, obviously, with the dozens and dozens of laps that all these trucks have done. I was just curious for a minute there how much of a factor Martell was going to play in this thing. If he was trying to get around the leader, that has not happened yet. These two guys still battling for third and fourth. But if Parise gets there and Martell doesn't move, then I'm sure he will move him. And with 4 laps to go the last time by, he had to make up about a half a second each lap, and he's going to get held up that time. So Parise is getting held up by the lap truck in Martell, Jim. I was just about to say he closed it. The gap was down to 1.5 seconds. Instead, it will grow. That is big for Proudfoot.
Yeah, it's huge for Proudfoot, who, he's had a strong run, and Parise, he was starting to figure it out. And, back to ground zero. It's a lot of ground to make up for Parise, and I don't know with 3.5 laps left if he's actually going to have an opportunity to do it or not.
Moving out of the way to allow the Josh Fox and Bobby Sant Jr. saga to continue. These guys have been all over each other for the last 4 or 5 laps, but no order has changed. Contact behind. There's Peterson. He'll make a pass on Ambrosius. He's now past the driver who started on pole, and he is a plus 13 to position number 6.
Wow, Peterson. Oh, man, he may be a factor in this yet with 3 to go. He is dropping just some stellar lap times. I'm looking at his times here, his last lap, 1:33.457, which is actually about 3/10 faster than Proudfoot, who is our leader. So definitely Cam Peterson, the man on the move. Do I think he can make up 7.5 seconds? I don't know if he's got enough time for that, but it's going to be interesting to watch him try.
Yeah, that's definitely a guarantee that he's going to do everything he can, and so are these two. I mean, Fox and Sant have been going at it all night, and they've kind of allowed some of these other drivers to hang around. I know Sant, at least last lap, was the fastest truck on track with 1:33.4. Far better than, as you mentioned, the kind of 0.7s that Proudfoot's been doing from the top of the board. But 2 laps to go this time. Parise no longer closed it in. Brandon Proudfoot may be on cruise control. You watch the battles from behind with popsicle sticks in the air and a touch. That's Fox, who's into the tires. The battle went on so long clean, and that time there was a touch into turn number 1. Sant laid on the brakes. Fox unable to recover. Let's take a second look.
Look at this thing come in, and Sant on the brakes, and that wasn't a malicious tap by any means. That was just a racing incident there. What a tough break for Josh Fox, and one of the top guys in the sport. He's run strong here. You hate to see him miss out and end up in the tire barrier like that. But wow, yeah, that was very unexpected.
Just goes to show you when you're on that edge that it's so easy for things to get a little bit out of control, and you can see that Sant tried his best to kind of check up and let him recover that, but Fox was gone and locked it up and ended up nose first and into the tires. At least up front, though, it is no change for the 022 machine of Brandon Proudfoot. White flag in the air, this time by about 2 miles left from a checkered flag. Teammate behind him, the difference back to Parise still 2.6 seconds. And most importantly, it looks like clean track up the road for Proudfoot, which if I was him, that's what I would be worried about.
Yeah, and I'm just looking back, and I really didn't even pay any attention to this, but 1 through 5 are these Fistful of Bourbon General Tire trucks, and these guys, they're together, they race together, and these guys are definitely putting on a show today. But Josh Fox, I thought he was going to be the guy to mix it up there and get in the middle, and he had a real chance of doing it until that incident there. But we're going to see Ambrosius there in the 6th spot. We got Game and Green. We got a few still in the mix, so might happen here with only about a lap left.
We've seen a handful of names get race wins over the course of this 2020 campaign. The Cam Peterson domination early, of course, Brandon Proudfoot with a feature race win for the Pro 2 Invitational, and is now going to try to find himself back in victory lane for a feature. That final long trip down the back straightaway to the final set of 3 corners. There's no traffic in front, and there is no challenge from behind. Final exchange for Brandon Proudfoot, who's going to come through the hairpin at the virtual Long Beach Grand Prix, hang the backside out, and Brandon Proudfoot winning in the Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown.
Wow, and you got to give a lot of credit to this kid. Winning at Laguna Seca, winning here at Long Beach, Pro 2s on the pavement. I got to tell you, Brandon Proudfoot, he has put his stamp on this thing and said, hey, I'm the best in the world when it comes to Pro 2s on pavement, and I'm waiting for somebody to step up and dethrone him at this point.
2 for 2s, and he's batting 1,000. Proudfoot did it convincingly tonight atop some of the best drivers on this short course and truck racing scene on the iRacing service. A lot of battles still to the start-finish line. A couple of those trucks were side by side all the way to the stripe. I know Ronnie Anderson's on his lid. All of these drivers having some fun. Of the 24 who started this feature, 22 of them to finish on the lead lap, so I think that's quite impressive. And of course, it's great for Proudfoot to get this race win, but of course the ultimate goal here tonight, Jim, was for those drivers that weren't already qualified into the World Cup. Our top 5 finishers tonight that weren't already locked in going to receive an invite, and that'll get us to that 20 truck number to be locked in for January's main event.
Yeah, we've got that main event in January, so the top 20 are going to be pre-locked in. We do have a few promoters options. I hear a few names floating around that might be coming back. I'll let the cat out of the a little bit, but it sounds like Mr. Travis Pastrana will be back for that World Cup. text with him earlier today, so that's always exciting to see Pastrana, on anything iRacing. So we got quite a few drivers, I think, that are going to be, trying to come back for that. But 5 now solidified in for this World Cup. Like I said before, we've got some massive announcements to make here in the next week. We're going to do something that's never been done with short course on iRacing, and iRacing's got our back on it. We've had multiple meetings with them, and this is going to be big. We've got something really big up our sleeves, and I can't wait to let the cat out of the bag.
And as we look forward to that, and we just finished, but kind of reflect on what's been a great 2020 racing. Let's take a look at these full race results. It is Proudfoot, Parise, and Lusk on the podium here tonight from Long Beach, but that doesn't mean everybody can't celebrate. I see Joshua Game in P6 tonight. He's celebrating, and the likes of Gary Green, Bobby Rafferty, Josh Fox, and Dave Bodio, the top 10 in the main event.
Yeah, we got Josh Edmondson, Stratton, Ronnie Anderson. He had some really good runs and fell back in that main event. Trumpiano, saw him out front at times. Roland Johns, Drapkin, Matt Everhart, Bobby Sant Jr., Prater, and No.
And then at the very back of this one, you talk about Connor Berry, Mikey Lawrence, and it's Martel and Caps. Caps on his lid at the end of lap number 1, the drivers who don't make it the full distance, but they both got back out there and finished this race. So kudos to everybody, not only for participating in this one, but for putting on a great show in tonight's main event. We'll try to talk with some of your top finishers in just a moment. We'll take one more opportunity to step aside. You're watching the Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown from Long Beach on RaceSpot TV.
The sun is so bad.
I fully agree. The glare right now is insane.
Maybe we do like at like a sunset.
Sunset
duel. Yes.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It'll be so purple out until the blood runs through the streets.
It ain't just a bourbon, it's a damn fistful.
RaceSpot TV's coverage of the Jim Beaver eSports Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown from Long Beach, California, continuing tonight as the main event checkered flag is flown and Brandon Proudfoot is in victory lane. I want to welcome you back into tonight's coverage. We're alongside Tiffany Stone and Jim Beaver. My name is Evan Pasoko, and let's hand things off to you, Tiffany, and chat with tonight's race winner. He had to work hard in this one all night long. Kind of ended up mid of that top 6 invert, but Brandon Proudfoot once again a winner on the pavement in these Pro 2 trucks, and let's see if we can get a word with him now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon, for coming here. Obviously, it was a big congratulations to you. This is the first time that we've seen everybody at Laguna Seca. Walk us through what you saw out there.
Hard to pass for sure. It was really tight conditions. It was all about those braking zones, a lot of accordion effects, and it came down to who was spinning the tires off those exits.
And talking about that, what do you think was going to be the hardest turn coming into this? Did you do anything to necessarily prepare, or was, you just took every turn as it came?
I know a lot of people really like to keep their brake bias forward on these bigger tracks, and me personally, I like to keep it a little bit farther back. That allows me to kind of have that secondary brake in case I ever shoot the corner a little bit. It gives me a little bit rear steer, so I prefer to nail it in those smaller corners, where the bigger straightaways I give it an extra few meters or so.
Awesome. And looking forward to January 2021 with everything there. What are you going to be most excited about?
Well, according to my history, these road courses, we got any of them. So far, 2 for 2 whenever it comes to the asphalt side, and I know every once in a while I can keep up with Cam and Edmondson up there in the dirt side, but yeah, just looking forward to racing with a great group of guys.
Awesome. Big congratulations to you again.
Yep.
And we'll keep our drivers coming. Connor Parise came home in second tonight, and Tiffany, you've got him on the radio now.
Connor, second place here. This is a new track for everybody, just like I was talking to Brandon. What did you see out there tonight?
I just saw a lot of aggressive but fun driving. I think everyone was trying to put on a good show and drive as hard as possible to make sure we all get through to that big show in January.
And going off of that, we saw a lot of trucks up on their lids, obviously right by the fountain turn. What was the most difficult part trying to get through the fountain turn, especially when there was so much commotion happening?
My tactic was to be aggressively patient. You have to really attack that section, but obviously you saw a lot of people getting it wrong, and with traffic it's extra hard. So I was just trying to make sure I got through there, and then the rest of the track was just choosing your moment to strike in the draft and whatnot.
I really like that terminology you just used, aggressively patient. I probably am going to take that for one of my bags. But going into 2021, I just asked Brandon as well, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I know there's a truck race coming up pretty soon. Real excited for that. Obviously, I'm excited for the Rallycross World Championship, hoping to represent Jim Beaver in that one as well. So we got a good year coming ahead of us.
Awesome. Nice job. Big congratulations again.
Thank you.
And we'll bring it all the way down now to the final step on the podium. And we talked about those drivers fighting for that World Cup. Well, your top finishing non-locked-in driver means that a P3 tonight for Joe Lusk is his golden ticket to the World Cup. And we're talking with him now.
Joe, finishing it off with the third place finish here. Walk us through what you were seeing. I've talked to everybody about it. What did you specifically see out there that was a little bit different than what the last two drivers have talked about?
Oh, yeah. So, getting into third place here was kind of a stroke of luck. Coming into one, the two guys in front of me were battling, Bobby and Josh. They obviously were a little bit faster than me. And so, there was a little bit of bad luck of them and a little good luck for me. So that's kind of, it's one of those things where I've been on the other end of that deal and being put in that position to, capitalize. Felt pretty good. So coming home with third, not too shabby, I think.
No, that's great. And this is actually the first time I'm getting a chance to talk to you. And what we've always talked about is you need to capitalize on other people's mistakes. And you've obviously done that tonight. How's it going to look going into 2021 with a bunch of big names out there, like Jim was talking about, Travis Pastrana coming back and then racing in one of these races?
Oh, it's always awesome. I mean, to get an opportunity to race against people like that. I mean, you watch these people on TV and you say, wow, maybe I can get a chance to race against those guys. So, it's huge. And I really value, the kind of the connections that, Jim and all these guys have really put into this eSports thing. And it's just a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, your voice can say everything. It just says that you're super excited about that. Nice job today, taking that third place finish on the box.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
A big thanks to all of those guys for giving us the time here post-race to chat with them, and we'll bring our broadcast crew back into the picture as we close this one out, not only as kind of a recap of tonight's action from Long Beach, but for all of the great racing, I think, Tiffany, that we saw here on the service. And I know it was a new element for you to join us on the sim, and happy to have been alongside both you and Jim for the call for several of these events. But we kept it fresh. We mixed it up here tonight at Long Beach. And once again, the sim racing drivers didn't disappoint us and put on a great show.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And that was the first time I got a chance to talk to Joe, actually. And, I like what some of the drivers are saying, that they were patiently aggressive, capitalizing on other people's mistakes. And going into 2021, it's going to be a great race to be able to check out. I'm super excited. And thanks you guys for always having me along for the ride.
And Jim, I know you've been teasing what's to come in 2021. I said always leave them wanting more. So for those who, are maybe already involved in this scene or maybe saw this race tonight and say, hey, this eShort course is something that I really want to follow, where can they go to get updates on not only the World Cup coming up, but everything else that you guys at Jim Beaver eSports are doing?
Yeah, well, we've got Jim Beaver eSports on all the major channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also obviously we've got Twitch and YouTube streams. I've got my personal stuff. It's Jim Beaver 15. I do want to, before we go, give a big shout out to these guys right here, Fistful of Bourbon. They launched an amazing bourbon company. A lot of companies would invest into things like real world motorsports. They launched a brand and they doubled down into the esports community. Sponsored our team. They're sponsored events. They're a big part moving forward along with General Tire and what we have planned. So a big shout out to Fistful of Bourbon on all their support.
Wouldn't be possible without them, and that's it for us here tonight for this Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. So on behalf of the entire team behind the scenes at Jim Beaver eSports, I know that downstairs Chris Leone is working hard to make all of this happen. For the entire RaceBot TV crew behind the scenes, and of course for your broadcast team tonight. For our producer, Arjuna Kankipati, for Tiffany Stone, Jim Beaver, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Brandon Proudfoot, race winner of tonight's Jim Beaver eSports Fistful of Bourbon Pro 2 Showdown. It's been a great year of eShort course racing. We'll see you in 2021.